Oh my God! Hi.
Hi.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Bigfoot, for the super sticker.
Thank you,
I
Dennis.
can't see what kind of super sticker it is
It's a
because not
poo.
on YouTube.
It's a
If
poop
it's a
emoji.
99-cent super sticker, it's gonna be a poo.
It's gonna be a poo.
Gonna
I
be
mean,
poo.
fertilizer is very important to plants.
It is.
Yes,
Yep.
I will fertilize plants with fish poo.
Hey, Annette, I gotta show you something.
Oh
You
wait,
ready?
what? Oh, okay.
Woo!
Snailed it.
Nailed
Well, as
it!
long as we're doing a fashion show,
Oh, I love that.
yeah,
Woo!
I
Ooh.
like
Not
that.
bad. Gray is not a bad color either for it.
Yeah, I usually wear black, but I wanted to make sure that the drop shadow, the semi-transparent stuff, was
Shows up
looking.
on the
Yeah.
It
yeah.
looks good. This might be
Looks
the
excellent.
only black shirt I own. Is the one from Annette. I never wear black.
And despite the effort I went through to make sure that there was no green screen, like no chroma key issues, still, freaking still.
It doesn't look too bad. It's pretty minor.
Yeah,
It would have been more
it is what it
fun.
is. I'm not gonna change the design just for
Oh, Annette doesn't think you look sexy.
Annette,
what me?
Oh, Steven and I do, but
there. I'll just
oh,
put
there
this
you go.
over.
That's better.
Look at that. So yeah, what was I about to say? About the
um,
maybe about the shirt. I don't know. I don't
The
know.
chroma key.
But
it looks good.
yeah,
It looks
It still
good.
looks good. Yeah.
And
mhm.
it came in a very timely manner. What it took like
A week. I ordered it last
oh, that's pretty
Monday
good. Well, that's
evening.
pretty good. I mean, gosh, what
Yeah.
more do you
Yeah, because
want?
they printed it and then they shipped it. That was
Yeah, that's
really
really
fast.
good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Scotty needs to
Very,
squirt
very good.
his furts, he says. Don't forget to squirt your furts.
Yep.
Take a tour. Okay, Gardens. I tried to do that backstage just to see if it was convenient, and I just got reports that they could see my butt. So
That's pretty much Steven is not good at modeling. I'm like, we can't see the back of the shirt, just Steven's butt.
yeah, but trust that the back of the shirt
It looks good.
also looks really, really good
It looks good.
Mhm.
for sure.
And thank you, Eric.
Eric,
Something like plants.
thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So, I guess
Okay.
maybe I'll give a little spoiler on something I'm working on. Let's see.
Oh,
See
Ooh, a
that?
plant wall.
It's my hydroponic wall. So
freaking cool.
we got it screwed in place on the wall and the plumbing set up. It was pretty easy. But it's a European import and it has European plugs. So
Luckily,
So you
you
gotta
can
get
get
adapters for that.
adapters for cheap on Amazon, but that's
yeah, it was 2 for $7. Also, the cords are really short, so I'd get a couple extension cords too.
now. Where did you buy it from? That it didn't come with an adapter, at least.
I got it from this weird Spanish import company, which I don't know if I like it. We'll do a whole wet your plants on it, maybe.
Okay.
I want to make sure it works first before I would recommend it to anyone, but I think it will. It comes with a nice little pump. It has an intake sponge covering it, and then the pump brings water up to the top level, and then it trickles down, and then it returns into the aquarium. So it's just a little hydroponic system, and it actually comes with all the media, which is just leca, which is what I usually grow hydroponic plants in. Anyways, it's a very lightweight, expanded clay. It doesn't have any nutrients, but it's very
So
light.
you're just using the window light from that
No,
window?
it comes with a light. Let me show you again.
What?
See the light up there?
Oh, I didn't even realize that was a light.
Yeah, it
Oh, I
comes
thought
with
that
a
was just
light,
like
and it's a
something
very
was hanging.
it's a very cheap light. But remember, these are like
Yeah.
they're not. It doesn't have to shine through water. A cheap light is fine. So I don't know what the color spectrum is. I don't know what that light looks like because I can't plug it in yet to test it. So we'll see when the adapters come, which I think is tomorrow. And then I'll buy some house plants. Berkeley gave me a couple of little things she rooted, some cuttings that I'm going to stick in there. And I don't know. I mean, I
Give
could
me,
grow
like
like lettuces in there too, but I'll probably grow houseplants.
ooh,
So,
could you do like a hydroponic herb garden up there?
well, yes and no. So the thing
There'd
is,
be more humidity, wouldn't they?
well, no, herbs don't really like to have wet feet because they're
Mm.
Mediterranean plants. You know, thyme and oregano, they like to drain really well. So I'm not sure how happy they would be hydroponic grown. You could try it, but like lettuces, you could do probably like tomatoes.
I'm just wondering, like, for the mosh pit, could put something just like that on the wall above it.
I think you could. Um,
You have enough fish
yeah,
volume.
and the
Right on
nice
the
thing
space
is
between two windows.
these are modular. So, like, if you have a really big tank, like you could put two of them on there. But
Yeah.
yeah, Mark says a small variety of kale would work. It would, and
Mhm.
kales are very pretty. So I would never eat it.
Decorative food.
Right, it would be decorative food, but I probably will grow house plants. Just because I probably will.
Hey,
And if you
is
have
my
shallow,
audio and video like grossly out of sync?
I
a
mean,
couple seconds ago you did have like two Stevens talking, but now it's back to
Okay.
one. Like it
Wait,
used to
well,
be
I'm
this,
like,
now it's that.
is my mouth moving and the words coming out match what my mouth is doing?
you look okay now.
A little bit. There might be a little bit delay. Like your face might be choppy.
Okay. Something's, I don't know, computer.
But your
StreamYard gonna
audio's good, so
StreamYard,
that's
I
not a
don't know.
problem. Yeah.
Oh
You look
well,
okay now. Yeah.
that's cool.
But anyways, I'll let you guys know how it goes. It was shipped. It was about $125. It's not horrible. It took about 3 weeks to get to me, which they said it would take 3 weeks because it's exporting from Spain.
Mhm.
And then the additional like adapters and extension cords is probably another 25 bucks. So, you know, I mean, I'm not going to DIY anything. So it's not a bad option. Yeah.
But for those who are interested, it is very easy to DIY one of these things. You just need
Sure.
to-
I'm just going to DIY nothing
You
ever.
could do it super ghetto too. You could get like half cut milk cartons and
You can. And I don't know. I don't think this thing is like the most attractive in the world, but I don't have to DIY anything.
Mhm.
And it comes with a light and a pump.
I mean, if you want to make it look a little better, you could take that bamboo siding that you can put around, like, or
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called, but like the bamboo siding that's smaller,
Yeah,
bamboo,
yeah.
just wrap
I
it around
mean,
each
it's
wall.
gonna get completely
Covered
covered
in
in
plants.
plants because I'll pick things that bush out and drape down, and soon enough it'll be all covered. So I'm not really worried about it. But for people who want to DIY things, they can DIY things. But for people like me, it's a good option.
Mhm.
And I've never seen anything in the United States like it. So, anyways.
So, would you like to start, Kelly, with your PowerPoint or your videos?
Let's start with the PowerPoint. We'll end with the videos. So we're talking
Okay.
about ponds today because
Hey,
I'm
before we
not.
do that, can I
Oh.
show off my outdoor tub?
Please.
You saw it whenever you came over, right?
It was not impressive. You have a low bar. You can
I was,
clear.
I was about
Exactly.
to think you're gonna say it's impressive, but then you
It was
said it
not
was
impressive.
No.
But you know what? It's a good spot, and
Mhm.
you can start now because it's pretty warm there.
So, yeah, hold on, let me get them on Google Drive so I can share them here. So I kind of like have the urge to, since I have water and fish in there, and I know it's working, that I could just kind of build up around it. But at the same time, I have a lot of other tanks inside that I've been kind of procrastinating and not doing not doing the rescapes and all the stuff that I want to do to those. And because I've been procrastinating it so long, I feel like my brain is turning it into a task, like a demand that I don't really want to do, even though I kind of do. And so I think my brain is wanting to do the pond as like as a distraction. So I need to not. I need to
Mhm.
recognize that and not go and move on to something else before I finish what I had planned initially. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Yeah.
All right, but there is one thing I need to address on it like immediately, and that is transferring it to a more
Ah,
permanent container because this thing is not going to last another season in the
Yeah,
sun. It's going
the
to,
bowling.
I don't think
yeah.
it should. I don't think it should last another day.
I mean,
Like
if you
Well,
look where your mouse just went, that there's a crack there, and that crack might like
you should
grow.
empty that thing out.
but wait a minute, Myrtle. Don't you see my genius solution?
There's zip
Oh boy.
ties.
A big ass
So
zip
ghetto.
tie around the whole thing has delayed the inevitable.
I mean, it works.
For
Yes,
very,
exactly.
very little work, you could have an easy little tub that looked really good.
But do you know how much
Mhm.
work this takes?
But you know how bad it looks?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you do. I
Oh, I know. I know.
mean, you
That's why I
know,
haven't put any other work into it because I haven't figured out a plan for it.
yeah.
What I wanted to do was make sure that just uh, the way I had it, it could be okay over the winter. And I have done nothing to this. I think October is maybe whenever I set this up, aka I netted some gambusia out of the ditch and let the rain fill up this tub. I have not added or removed water from it. I just toss some red root floaters and duckweed and other stuff in there occasionally, and I've never fed it. So
One
no
of the
no.
dogs took a dump in it.
Oh
I
yeah, the
mean,
grass cutting
That's
guy weed
definitely
eats
true.
around it, and you see all the shit that flies into it. But
Mhm.
the bottom line is like this tub is the fish made it through the winter. There was a sheet of ice over it for a few days. Like so that it was kind of like
yeah,
my pilot test to see can I even handle an outdoor tub or is it going to be too much of a headache? And it sounds like
they're so
It's
low
pretty self-sustaining.
maintenance.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
there's no
mean,
filtration in here. There is no water movement at all from
yeah,
pumps or
they're
anything.
my tubs and my ponds are so much less work than my indoor aquariums.
Chance
Even
Larson,
and I
if
have
the
to winterize mine.
if only the Berlin Aquarium had enough zip
Uh,
tie, big enough zip tie, to still be with us. Too soon.
if
Yeah,
only.
too
Oh,
soon.
it hurts. All those poor fish.
Yeah.
Poor fish. Yeah.
So yeah, and look, here's proof. They're still
They're
alive.
still alive, those silly
Mhm.
And I
gambusia.
mean, look how
And
green
they're
that
looking
water
chunky
is.
too.
I need to take those bastards out of there and put in, like you said, Kelly, a mop of rainbows.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, because so I don't breed rainbows outdoors because they need a lot longer grow out time than I can give them. My season is pretty short. Your season is so long. I mean, you can basically go from like February to November, maybe.
Pretty,
October-ish, yeah.
especially this year, the
November,
freezing
yeah.
days were much less
I
frequent. I
mean,
feel like.
rainbows need to be above freezing by a good amount.
Mhm. Yeah.
Rainbows need to be, it can't really get below 50 degrees.
So that
Probably
would
even
mean
60
yeah.
or
So the winter
65.
would not.
Yeah, 60 or 65. I mean, my Medaka are outside year round. They're fine. And it gets cold here. My goldfish are years old and they're outside year round. So, you know, you have to. But if you want to just take them outside and take them back inside, that's an option too.
Yep.
So, Radnocentris, they can take it a little colder than rainbows do, but like you can in like 8 or 9 months, you can get them grown up big enough that you can bring them in a tank and finish growing them out without too much difficulty. And they'll have the best color.
Mhm.
So,
Indeed.
yeah. So, I've showed you guys, if you ever watched our live stream on ponds last year, some of this will look familiar because, I have the same pond year after year, but I'm always learning new things and I'm always trying new plants. So I'll tell you some new things that I learned this year. Um, or last year.
Yeah, you haven't started setting it
Oh
back up
God,
yet.
no!
You're,
I thought about taking a picture of what it looks like now, but I didn't want everyone to cry because it looks so sad. I mean, there's like a plastic bag floating in it. I think. I mean, it just looks sad. I mean, it hit 60 degrees today, but then it's going to get back down to the 20s. So, I mean,
And you don't want your stuff to freeze.
yeah, I
Especially.
don't set anything up. I could do it around mid-May, but Jake and I always do it over Memorial Day weekend because we take off extra days for that, and then we get all of the yard done, and so it works out well. But when you can set up your pond, it depends on what zone you're in. So I am zone 6A. But I can't tell you necessarily what your weather is going to be like. But for plants, your water needs to be above freezing every night.
Mm-hmm.
For fish, it depends on what fish you're putting out there. You can potentially get your plants going before your fish,
yeah,
if they're not cold weather fish. I always choose cold weather fish because I like to leave them out there year round and they do just fine. So, um, yeah.
maybe I'll get some goldfish gardens.
Well, Annette,
Maybe.
I thought was gonna give me her goldfish so it could live in my pond. Because that pond, the big pond shown there, the goldfish I have in there are, I think, 5 years old.
I support that idea.
And they're
Yes,
still
I do.
going. Yeah, they're still going. And they're just cheap old feeder goldfish.
Some
They last
goddamn
the
feeder
longest. Yeah.
goldfish.
Yeah, there's nothing special about them.
All right.
So,
Well, while I move along in the slide, I'm going to reboot OBS just to see if it fixes it because I'm obsessive over that kind of crap.
all right. Well, but you have to push the buttons for me.
There's a button.
So, this is a book I suggest everyone buy. You can get it on Amazon. It's the Tub Pond Handbook by Ted Coletti. So, I'm going to put the name Ted Coletti in chat, I think. I don't know. I don't see the chat. Well, I was going to put it in chat. I'm not now. But it's Ted Coletti. And I actually chatted with him today. So, the third edition is out right now. But he's putting out like some sort of like update to the third edition in April. So if you wanted, you could wait to buy it in April and it'll be out then. I don't think it's going to be very major edits to it, but I love this book. It's so good. It's a very inexpensive book. The great thing about it is it's written for just doing these tiny tub ponds that are very accessible to everyone. It's
You'll be doing a panel with him at.
In the clash, yep.
yeah, at Keystone Clash, I'll be doing a panel with him and a woman named Sue and a man named Peter who also are into these tub ponds. So everybody's pretty excited about that. And I love this book so much. It's got tons of information on plants you can grow and the specific varieties that are small. It also talks about how to breed your fish outdoors. And it's great because it's written by an aquarist for aquarists. A lot of pond literature and videos are kind of sketch and they're like understanding of algae and nitrogen cycles and fish breeding. And but this one, like, it's clearly written by a man who's a very good aquarist.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to like know the person's history and credentials because literally anybody can write a book and publish it.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
This book is fantastic, though. I have followed Ted's method for, I think, 3 or 4 years now, and I use this for like how to plant my water lilies, how to winterize things. I don't do everything exactly like he does because I already had a pre-built pond, which I'll show you in a little bit. But I do set up little tubs this way, and I think this method really works. Geek Boy says sketch is what he's most comfortable with. I mean, the thing is, you can always like 3D print something to make it not sketch. I need it to be not sketch to begin with. So, but yeah, really great book. For me, tub ponds. So like my indoor aquariums, I feel like, they're 50% about fish, 50% about plants. I'm into both. I love my rainbows. But outside, I'm like 90% about plants and
Mhm.
10% about fish. Like for me,
The fish are there
it,
just to support the plants.
they're there to eat mosquitoes. I would never do a tub that didn't have fish in it because
Otherwise,
there's
you're breeding
already
mosquitoes.
so many
Mhm.
mosquitoes in my neighborhood, and I'm very sensitive to mosquito bites. Um, I I can't have any more. Like all
So
the people who are like raising mosquito larvae for fun, I
that's
yeah,
that
that's
neighborhood. I don't even know if that's legal in Louisiana.
I would never
It's
do
it's
that.
not legal here. Yeah, it's like
I can't
uh,
support
yeah.
any more mosquitoes
yeah.
fishing, even by accident.
So
So I don't
my
know anything about Epistelis, but I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know
think
much
I've
about
ever
it
had to
either.
deal with it
I
either.
haven't had it.
Yeah, I am not an expert on fish diseases. I'm really sorry. I'm trying
No,
to
I'm
think
terrible at that. Like,
who would be a good person. Have you asked in the Discord yet? Like Rebecca might know, or maybe Mike, all things fish, or
oh, someone was asking if about speaking of Discord. Yeah, Cora was asking if there was a buy sell trade section. Yeah, there
there is.
is.
There is.
Just
Mhm.
it's like at your own risk. We have no control over how any of that goes. Like we're not going to be
Yep.
mediators. So
There's no
Do your due
feedback.
diligence before buying from
right,
Yeah,
someone.
it's just a place for y'all to talk about stuff you might have for sale and other people to be interested in it.
yeah,
Whatever y'all, however y'all work it out.
yeah. But I'm sorry to hear that though. So
Yeah,
this is my pond, and this is not built in a way that Ted Coletti's book suggests. This because I started this pond before it. So this is my pond friend Michael. I have a pond friend. He lives in Indianapolis, and he came up one weekend to build my pond for me because I have zero skills with power tools. I'm afraid of them. So yeah, and Jake was at a stereo show that weekend. So and we had just met like a couple months before. I'm like,
you and Jake had just met, or the pond guy?
yeah, Jake and I just well, actually this guy and I had just met too.
Okay,
We met actually. We met on online dating and we never dated. But he mentioned something about ponds and I'm like, "Oh my god, I want a pond." And he's like,
nice.
"I will
Bonded
build you
over the
a pond."
ponds.
And so we just became friends. We never dated. But we're pond friends. So, and we actually have gone down to his house a couple times and helped him modify his pond because he needed just some brute labor, and that's what Jake is for. If you need labor, that's what Jake is there for.
Like, Jake, I just realized I don't want this pond right here. Can you move it like a couple of feet over to the
And he'll
left?
do it. He'll do it. So, but Jake has become his friend too. So it's a beautiful thing. They say that online dating is horrible, but you know what? I did get a boyfriend and a good friend out of it. So, but anyways,
Who
so
says online dating is horrible? I feel like that's about the only way you can do it nowadays because nobody's
Yeah,
leaving the
nowadays
house.
that's
it's
yeah.
true. I mean, and I had just moved to Indiana, so I didn't know anyone. So
Hmm.
I mean, I met a friend that way too. So
Yeah.
yeah, and we send each other pond pictures, and I'm friends with his mom now, and it's a beautiful thing. But he came up and he built this thing for me. This is a wooden box. It's about so he's about 6'2" or 6'3", just to give you some idea of the scale. Um, it's a wooden box. I think it's about hip height on me. The main box. I think the whole thing is about. I think it's 275 gallons and it has a top box that is the bog filter, which is a great way to filter
Mhm.
ponds. And if I ever have a big in-ground pond, I will have a bog filter for it because it works so well. And there's a pump that brings water from the main box up to the bog. The bog is just filled with cheap old pea gravel, the kind you buy from Lowe's. You got to wash it and wash it and wash it and wash it and wash it
Mhm.
because
Yep.
it's filthy, but it's very cheap and it makes the perfect filter media. Um,
Now, am I jumping the gun, or did you say that this past year you did something with the bog that
I
didn't work
did.
out?
I did, and I made it not good. So, originally, what the bog has is it. So the pump comes up, and it had like a DIY spray bar that is made by just a piece of PVC with a little cap on the end, and like it took a saw and made cuts on it, and so the water would disperse through that. So if you want to just advance to the next slide.
Pretty,
Yeah, so this was the first year of the pond, and it's very disappointing.
because
It's
that
not
pesky
bad.
tree.
Yeah, because there's a tree there. I used to have a magnolia there, but that magnolia got cut down, and then I had full sun and angels, choirs of angels. Pond plants
The
really
light's
like
shining
a lot of.
through.
They like a lot of sun. So I did okay. I was able to grow some things. I mean, when I built this pond, also I was a professor. I had no money, so these were things he dug up
Mhm.
from his yard for me to plant. Like I wasn't buying anything, but those are some elephant ears. So those are alocasia, and they do okay. They would prefer full sun though. There's some canna lilies in there. They
What's this
never
right
bloom without.
right here? I like the color.
That's a canna lily, but it's
Okay,
not very exciting. It's never going to bloom with that little sun.
I like
Mhm.
leaves. I don't have to have flowers everywhere.
Yeah, but no, I'm not going back to a full set. No, like it's so much better to have flowers.
I'm
So
just trying to manage my own expectations if I do a tub.
you have a few hours of sun in that spot, which is
That
Yeah,
should be enough.
it's
Yeah.
I mean,
enough.
judging by the red root floaters, the way they look in
Yeah,
there,
they're gonna be.
they get super deep purple. I
And the
And
think.
flowering too.
you're so far south though. Oh, Renee, there's magnolias even up in Minnesota. There's a lot of cold weather magnolias. So yeah, those are nationwide. But yeah, but anyways, look how much better it is when I have
Yeah,
sun. So that tree got
Hmm.
taken out, and all of a sudden I can grow water lilies and have them bloom. My cannas bloom. My everything gets so much bigger and nicer, and it's just so much better. So if you have the option of where you choose it, it's better to have some sun. Now your pond is going to get kind of hot. Not a pond this big. I mean, there's a fountain circulating the water. There's a lot of water volume. I don't really worry about getting it hot, but if you have a little teeny tiny tub, it is going to get somewhat hot. The key to dealing with that is to put in a little bit of circulation, like a little pump,
Hmm.
and to get like
Vary your pond a little if you
100%
can.
coverage of floating plants or lily pads. And my ponds always have 100% coverage of floating plants and lily pads. Yeah. So Coreworks' peace lily will bloom with mediocre lighting. That's true, but peace lily is kind of a boring plant compared to all these other plants.
I do like this variety.
Yeah, I mean, it's and this every year my ponds are just so exciting. I try different plants all the time. It's it's just a lot of fun.
It's
So
very pleasing to my brain to
it would make
see
you
all
go
of
Hmm.
those.
outside, Stephen. I go outside.
Oh, now I don't know about that.
Well, you would want to go outside because you'd want to see what was blooming and you'd want to see what was changing, and you just go out there and look at your. Well, I don't really see
I
my
mean, you
fish.
could set up binoculars by the window that's closer to the pond and stare at it from the
No, I'm
side.
thinking
Just
more like the Geek Boy method, where I've got a phone
camera
sitting
set
up
up to
there
it.
with an IP camera app on there.
You would go outside. You would go outside. And it would be so good for your brain just to get
Yeah,
a little sun. So, yeah, so we'll talk about what plants will survive the winter and what won't in just a second. Coral
look
works.
at that back
This
coat.
is the filter box, and look how luscious this is. So those
Hmm.
big tall plants, that's those are elephant ears. That variety is called coffee cups, and it gets 6 feet high. Just to give you
Wow.
some idea for scale. Some of those plants in there, the darker green trailing stuff, that's a bacopa. And then the lighter color is creeping Jenny. So those will grow underwater too, but they grow great above water. Um, the lettucey looking stuff in the front, yep, that you're circling, that is blood dock.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a nice plant, and that one survives freezing. It comes back every year in my climate.
Nice.
Um, to the left of the elephant ears, that's strappy stuff up in the box.
Oh, this stuff.
Yep, that's pickerel rush. Those really beautiful purple flowers. Um, yeah. So the problem with the bog box is it's a victim of its own success. So 2 years in a row, in like August or so, the plants get so lush that like it kind of chokes out the box. The
Hmm.
roots are so much, and then the water just would run off the side and drain the pond, which is not good. And so I would end up having to unhook it and just water the bog box every day, which is not what I wanted. I wanted it to keep running so I could have my fountain running. So go ahead and advance it. So last year, this is another year I used a different species of elephant ear, but look how big those are. I mean, those are bigger than my forearms, those leaves. They're huge. And I mean, just that bog box is so wonderful. It's so exciting, the things I could grow in that. Um, so advance one more. So I took out the spray bar and I just clipped the I clipped the water, the pump hose onto there. And I thought, well, whatever, it's still going to run into the box. No, look how sad that looks. So the elephant ears that are there, that's the variety that should get 6 feet high. And
Oh, but it stayed small.
it didn't even get knee high. It never did well. Nothing in the bog box did well. So I think that the spray bar is really, really important.
Mm.
Um, so I think what we're going to do this year is because the spray bar is getting clogged up. So I think Jake said that he's going to put a joint on it so he can untwist
Take it
it
off and
and clean it out. The thing is, it's really hard to get it back under there. So I think if we can just untwist it, and then I can take a hose and like blast out all the roots and crap that gets it clogged up. So hopefully that'll work. I mean, we're always trying to refine this and doing it better, but that spray bar is really important for the bog, actually.
So
So
Coral's
yes,
recommended that carnivorous
yeah.
plant.
yeah. So they don't really work well in my water. Carnivorous plants need very, very low KH. They need like 100 or less of TDS. I don't have that.
Hmm.
A lot of that is rainwater in the pond, but still, I don't have that. I've tried, what are they called? Pitcher plants before, and they just didn't do well. Water is just a little too hard. And also, I don't want to grow bladderworts. They're the devil.
Yeah, they get everywhere
They're
if you
like
let
a
them.
very terrible weed. Yeah. So how could you keep a pond cool enough in your backyard? It's 100% full sun. You'll be fine, Brooklyn. So it gets really hot here too. Choose a bigger pond. Get one of those bigger tubs from like Tractor Supply or wherever,
Hmm.
and get a little pump in it for some water circulation. And it'll be just fine.
Um, do you think it would be helpful if she had airline somehow running from one of her air pumps indoors with the AC
No,
to the
no.
outside and pushing like cold air
It
through the?
wouldn't be enough to
You
do
don't
anything, but
don't make it complicated. I mean,
yeah.
just any pump will be
That's
fine.
not complicated. That's fun. I like running wires
Well,
and
here, I don't know,
setting shit up.
Steven. Like, look at that pond you have outside, and now you're talking about like piping in air conditioned water. Let's go to an intermediate step where it's easy
Hmm.
first.
Ellie, how long have you
Now,
known
if
me?
Brooklyn is comfortable with this,
Do
she
you
can take her
understand that I
pond.
don't just, there's no halfway. It's like I either do nothing or I do everything.
I would suggest for you, Steven, if you're going to invest all in, you should build a beautiful wood enclosure for yours because you have
Hmm.
actual construction skills. I don't.
Yeah, I've been thinking
And this
about that.
pond is rickety as all shit. Like, I don't know how it's still surviving, to tell you the truth, because my friend who built it is not exactly a master carpenter either.
It doesn't take a whole lot of
I mean, as
skill
long
to
as you have the
just lay
seals
some.
done right, it's gonna hold
Yeah.
together.
It's still chugging along. But no, if you just make sure it's covered 100% in floating plants and lily pads, which it will be within 2 weeks. It's
Hmm.
not a problem. And get a little pump in there, which she'll enjoy a pump anyways because it, water movement sounds good. It'll be just fine. It'll be
Yeah,
fine.
and if you're up for a little project for the next time you set up your pond, you can drain it, dig a hole in the ground, and put the pond all the way into the ground, and that'll help cool it up a
Oh, for
little bit
sure.
too.
Yeah, a
And
pond
it'll,
that's
it'll
buried in the
last longer
ground.
in the winter too.
Matt says, Stephen, why do you let this woman insult your pond?
Look, sometimes I need a dose of reality and
Sometimes
just
you
know the things I need to
do.
work on, and so I need to improve my
Yeah.
pond. Uh,
Yeah.
the priority for that is just to make the tub not collapse
Hmm.
this season, and then I'll let the Gambusia do what they do. I would like to kind of make it like an extension of the plant farm, in a way. If
Stephen, you could get a pond going in 2 hours.
no, but yeah, like I could do 2 hours worth of work, and it would take about 4 days. But I think, yeah.
I don't know. I don't even think it would take that long. I think, yeah. It's just not
Oh,
that hard to do a good tub. Um
so Travis asking where. So you live in
I live in
Indiana.
Indiana. I live in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is the northeast corner of the state. I am zone 6A. Colorado is a state with very diverse microclimates, so I don't know what is a good time for you to do it. There has to be no danger of frost when you plant it. You can get a lot of things at Tractor Supply or
Hmm.
Rural King are two places that I've found tubs before. And if you want to go ahead and advance it, I'll show you. I've put in some like traditional tubs too. So these are some tubs that I've made. I have since that is a very small galvanized steel tub. There's no fish in there. Galvanized steel that is not coated in something I've heard is not good for fish. This is a very tiny tub. I was just using it to grow a lotus. I have since decommissioned this tiny tub and I drilled holes in it and I just plant flowers in it now. The one on the right is a preformed pond. I think those need to be buried. That shape just gets too saggy. It doesn't
Yeah.
work well.
Gotcha.
But just to show you some things, we're gonna take that preform pond. We were gonna do it last year, but then we got COVID. We're going to dig that into my friend Jenny's house, and so she can have a pond. Jake's gonna dig that hole so she can have a pond. So, but go ahead and click one. We'll go back to this slide. Go ahead and click another one. I couldn't remember what order I did this in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so these are some tubs I set up last year. So, because I wanted some pond annexes, I wanted to do more stuff. So,
So wait, while I'm thinking about it real quick. So you said like the galvanized tub that's uncoated is not good for
yes.
fish.
So what I did was I used Flex Seal. I used 2 cans of it and I sprayed it. And each coat took about 5 minutes to apply, and it dried in no time because it was really hot and sunny that day. So I used
Gotcha.
Flex Seal, which you can buy at like Lowe's or Home Depot. You can also use it's a product called Liquid Rubber, which you paint
Hmm.
on, and that's what Ted Coletti recommends. I just used, I think it's called Flex Seal. Is that
Yeah,
it?
I've used that before. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
and because I wanted something I just spray on because that was easy.
Yeah.
So it took 2 cans for this. So this thing is 6 feet long. I just like the look of the steel ones better, but you can get the Rubbermaid stock tanks.
Hmm.
I got this from Tractor Supply. I think it was about $100, maybe 125.
And this is it's like 100 gallons. You said.
Something like that. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
They had an 8 foot one, and I bought it.
Yeah, I
And
remember
and
that.
Jake is like, "What are we doing with our lives? This is so big." But I kind of wish I had that 8 foot one because God, think of the things that could grow in it.
I mean, I can look around and see where you can move some stuff and make room for
Yeah, I
that
mean, I see space
easily.
for it. I
My
just,
yard is
yeah.
I
very,
mean, look back there. Come on.
my yard is extremely tiny. Just to give you some idea, like I wouldn't have room for my little picnic table there. And I like my picnic table because I like to eat outside. So But you can see I got some little hangers on Amazon, some little pot hangers, and then I planted all those little plants around it. Those are just petunias and some calibrachoas. And if you advance a slide, you can see what that pond turned out looking like.
Ooh,
How
nice.
many rice fish you got in there now?
Oh my God, hundreds. So I have those are gold medacas in that pond, and they bred and bred and bred, and I never even feed them because they just eat the bugs that fall in the pond. And I bred hundreds of those. I gave some of them to Lady Metalhead. Um, yeah. So and you can see all those petunias grew in. Like it turned out really nice. And that little tub in the front, that is a standard little tub. You can get one of those at Lowe's in the pond section. It's got some little planting shelves in it. Those used to be cheaper. Now they're like $50.
This?
I'm not going to use that
Oh,
next
I
year.
I
That's
got those for
50
like
bucks?
$20.
Yeah, they used to be
Hell
way
no.
cheaper.
No way.
No, they
Not
usually
I
not
cost
at
about
know.
Depth's
$20 at
150.
most when I got mine at
Yeah, and I'm
Lowe's.
gonna get like one of there's round steel tubs. I'm gonna get one of those instead. I don't like the look of that. So, but go ahead and click to the next one.
Tommy says Higer makes a pond liner now that's quite inexpensive, but great quality and reinforced.
Yeah, but I don't
Oh.
own
Looks
I don't own
great.
my place, so like I can't have an in-ground pond.
Yeah.
So, someday when I buy a house, which God only knows when that'll be, I'll I'll have an in-ground pond, but for now, like this is what I do. So, yeah, so this is this little tub pond that I started. There's some little shelves in there. There is a water lily and a lotus in this. There's a dwarf water lily. It's a cool little variety called Helviola that gets like little teeny tiny 1-inch flowers. And then there's a lotus. It's a bowl lotus, which are very, very tiny. And that thing bloomed and bloomed and bloomed and bloomed, and it just didn't stop. That was a great variety. It's called spring cherry. And you can see in the middle picture the lotus, all those buds on there. It had like 20 or 30 buds on it at one point. Like it just bloomed all summer. So that was a really great variety. And then the little Helviola, I don't know if you can see the tiny little yellow flower in the corner. It has like little yellow
in the
white
very
flower.
right image, yeah.
Yeah. So it gets those tiny little flowers. So that was a nice variety too. So if you want a tiny little pond, that's a nice variety. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's what I have too. My wooden box, it is lined with pond liner. I don't know who made it. It's just regular pond liner you can buy from Lowe's.
So how do you keep the frogs away besides
Never been
Bonnie's
a
suggestion of getting a raccoon?
Never been a problem for me. I've never seen a single frog. I mean, they're not ground level. I wish I would get frogs. That would be awesome. I'd love to
We have frogs. We have lots and lots of frogs everywhere all the time. I had tadpoles in that tub, but
Yeah.
I don't think they had a way out. I didn't do anything. I'm sure the fish like devoured them at some point. Gambusia are kind of vicious.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If there were frogs, I'd be happy about it because then I'd have frogs. But
Yeah,
I
the
don't.
only frogs we have here are the ones that are like that small, like smaller, like index finger sized.
I mean,
We have
little
all
itty bitty
manner of
ones.
frogs. We have Eaton-sized frogs.
We have like big bullfrogs, but they never like.
But they don't come to the like residential areas much. They
Yeah.
stay out closer to the woods and streams
So
and stuff.
Travis asked, "What's the deal with kitty litters in ponds?" I don't have any kitty litter in my ponds. That's pea gravel. So, and I am planting my water lilies and lotuses as per the directions in Ted Coletti's book.
Well, he might just be asking about people who have done that. I have heard of it.
I don't know. People do all kinds of weird things. I don't do them. I mean, I'm just using cheap topsoil. I'm using pea gravel. I'm not using anything weird.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of people doing that to absorb, absorbs nutrients, like safety sorbs, kind of the same thing. It's like that.
You don't need to do any of that garbage. You just need to have enough coverage of floating plants or lily pads to cover the surface of the water. So I love water hyacinth aquatic moose. I live in an area of the country where it is not invasive because it frosts here.
Hmm.
Um, it may or may not be illegal where you live. I cannot tell you that. Um, but yeah, I love it. It blooms. It's got pretty purple flowers. I always have it. Just buy one of them because soon you will have hundreds. So just buy one. That's all you need. So
Or
Speaking
if
of
you know a
legal,
friend who has a pond, just take one from their pond because
exactly,
they won't
yeah.
mind
I
giving one
mean,
away.
yeah, yeah. I actually last year when we went up to my pond friend's house, he's like, I couldn't find any water hyacinth in the stores, so I brought him some. So, anyways, a couple flowers to show you on the left. Those are cannas. Those are just growing in the ditches where Steven lives. They're not hardy where I live. Some varieties of cannas do better than others in ponds, and I'm not always sure which ones those are. So, I just buy the ones from the garden
so
centers.
this would be a good plant for my pond.
For sure.
Hmm.
I think they're really pretty too. Um, and they come with some of them have variegated leaves. They come in yellow, red, cream, orange. I've done all colors of them. I like them. I think they look really good. Um, yeah, it's a good plant. So the purple flower that is pickerel rush, that is a native plant where I live, and it gets those little spikes of purple flowers year all through the summer. It's really pretty. In theory, that one should come back, but I guess we had a really, really cold winter.
How
Yeah.
long do those flowers last when they bloom?
Oh, those last a couple days, but you get new
Nice.
flowers on that all the time. So yeah.
Speaking of which, I need to make a short of the wild blackberry patch in the backyard because the flowers are going nuts. Like there's going to be a lot of blackberries on that really soon. So
Nice.
Jenna, start looking up like cobbler recipes or something.
Nice. And those freeze really
I
well
like
too. So
preserves and jams too. Yeah.
Mm.
yeah. So what to tell you about this? So there's some dwarf water lettuce in there. On the right, again, that's a plant that like just buy one of them, you'll soon have more. Um, there's
Great
some cannas
root
in that
structure for
shot.
breeding fish. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good kind of like a nature's mop.
Hmm.
So yeah, so select pets is kitty litter is often used all clay, often all clay based and sometimes used as mineral supplement for plants. I actually, now that I think of it, I have used it. I used some other clay product though,
Was it
because
Safety
pond
Zord
plants
that you
like,
used? The stuff that
yeah,
sits in
because
oil?
plants like some pond plants like heavy clay. But again, just follow the recipes in Ted Coletti's book, and he will tell you how to plant them, and it works. And how to fertilize them. This is the fertilizer I use. Let's see if you can see it. Just buy
It,
this on Amazon. It is called Thrive.
but it's not
It's
like
not
G
the
Thrive.
aquarium thrive. It's a
No, it's
different
made
thrive.
by Air Max Incorporated. This is just the cheapest pond pellets I could find. I'll show you what they look like.
So I don't know if you saw in chat, Kelly. Tommy has made a short for you to look at,
Wow, just for me.
just for
Okay.
you. It's even has your name in it. It's called
I
Like
love that.
This, Kelly Foreman.
Okay, I'm excited. Um, yeah. So water lilies are very heavy feeders. I feed them like every other week a tab to keep them blooming. Um, and also lotuses are also very heavy feeders. So I go through a lot of these. So I just buy the cheapest ones I can.
So fish safe then.
Yeah. Yeah. So Shark and Fin Adventure says, do you need to root then or can you use pond baskets? Depends on the plant. So for water lilies and lotuses, you don't want them in a basket. You want them in a tub with no holes. So
Hmm.
Ted suggests using 2.5 gallon paint buckets, but what I use are these like little feed pans. They're like little round uh trays that you can buy at Tractor Supply to feed animals with. And you can get ones that are really big for big lotuses, or you can get smaller ones for smaller plants. And I think those work really, really well. So that's what I use. Lotuses have to be in round containers because the tubers go round and round and round. So I use that. Um, yeah, and then lilies, they also prefer round containers, and they like ones with no holes. So
Ooh, what
on
is
the
Lily?
left, oh, that's a hibiscus.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's
Ooh.
hibiscus moschino. There's lots of varieties of hibiscus. They love getting their feet wet. Actually, we can go back to that list of plants. I'll tell you some plants
Yeah,
I tried.
and so Silver Creek asking, does anyone use humic in their tank? Humic acid pellet. It's supposed to be good for roots, right?
Um, humic acid. So like in your aquarium,
I don't use it in aquariums. No.
Yeah, I
because
mean it's
that
probably a
would
weak
give
Water
acid
you.
that
solution.
would
Wouldn't
help.
that give you like tea colored water?
If
Some
it's
I don't
people
if
are
it's
know.
okay
above
with
the
that.
soil, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to use.
The
Yeah,
pellet, I guess, is to prevent the shit from getting all up in the water column anyway.
no, I don't use that.
Oops,
So,
went too far. Okay. And
these are
then a very
some.
important question that I would like to know too, since we're on this list. So, Debs wants to know: are any of these pond
Hmm.
plants poisonous for dogs? Because yeah, we
I
got
don't.
two
I
dogs
don't.
and they're stupid.
Yeah. So I can't tell you that for sure. I can tell you some that I know aren't. So like mint, water lettuce. Um, but I don't know. You would have to look it up. I mean, my dog is too short to reach any of those. Also, she only has 3 teeth. So I've never had to worry about that. But you would have to look up each plant that you plant if that's going to be a concern for you. So I'm sorry I don't know that. But I have a very small dog. So it hasn't been an issue for me. Um, these
Pothos, I
are
know wouldn't be the yeah.
Yeah, these are some plants I've tried. Um, every year I try new plants, and some of them are not sold as pond plants. I just try them anyways and see if they work, especially in my bog box. Um, and I've had differing success with them. So these are all the things I've tried that I could remember. And you can grow hostas, begonias, caladiums, alocasias. Those are elephant ears. They do okay. Not great, but they do okay. Water hyacinth, it'll grow, but it won't bloom. Water lettuce
Hmm.
is fine. Mint, I always have mint growing every year. It smells really nice. And once you plant mint, you have it forever.
You can
So
make
it's good.
mojitos, non-alcoholic mojitos for you.
Yeah, I have made mojitos with it. So Hippoestes is polka dot plant. That's another one that, well, the frost would kill it, but man, is it invasive. It's pretty though. It's really pretty. Maranta is prayer plant that will grow. Lucky bamboo you can grow. I mean, these aren't going to survive the winter, but they're like house plants. Pothos, creeping jenny does well. Eguisetum is horsetail, and then Monstera adansonii. So you're not going to get a lot of flowers with these, except for begonias. Um, Begonias have pretty flowers, and they can take full deep shade. So I have grown that in the bog box, and it does well. But then once you have full sun, you have so many options. I mean, anything that's sold as a pond plant you can do, and some things that are not sold as pond plants. There
Is the
have only
location of
been,
my tub considered full sun or
well,
somewhere
you
in
get a
between?
few hours of full sun.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You don't get an entire day, but I think you get enough that you can get water lilies to bloom.
Okay.
So I think you'd be fine. Some things you just have to try and see how they do. But like your elephant ears are going to be more dramatic. So alocasias and colocasias, those are elephant ears. They're going to be big. Any stem plant you can grow, from your aquarium. So what's the one that's really pretty? Is it like Pogostemon erectus myrtle that has the
Yes,
pretty
yeah. The
purple
purple
flower?
flowers, yeah. Hmm.
If I can find some of that one, I want to grow that in a pond because the flowers are really outstanding. Um,
And
yeah,
it'll do a bush
hibiscus.
by itself. Like just let one stem grow immersed, it'll make its own bush.
Yeah,
So it's really pretty.
yeah. If I can get a hold of some of that, I want to try that because it's really pretty. But um, yeah, your water hyacinths will bloom. Hibiscus is really pretty. Cannas, callas, corkscrew rush is a cool plant. Juncus repens. I think that might do okay in shade too, but it prefers sun. Any of your alternantheras will do well. I've done ones that
Hmm.
you can buy from your garden center because they're alternantheras that don't want to be completely submersed.
Yeah.
But you could also grow your aquarium alternantheras too. Mexican petunias, those did really well for me. Then a plant that didn't do, couple plants that did not do well for me were Nicotiana, which is flowering tobacco. Just doesn't like its feet wet. Blue lobelia, which is Lobelia erinus. So if you garden at all, you've seen blue lobelia. Just doesn't like its feet wet. But Lobelia cardinalis is a classic
Hmm.
pond plant. I mean, it's beautiful and it loves having its feet wet. So pickerel rush I showed you before, that's a great plant. Of course, your water lilies, lotus. Water lilies are 10 times easier than lotus, I will tell you that.
Yeah.
Ranunculus flammula, I did
A
that
real
last year.
lotus is what you're talking about, right?
Lotus grows
Yeah.
above the water. The flowers
Mhm.
and the leaves are completely out of the water. Lilies have pads. So the thing that's
Hmm.
sold as tiger lotus is actually a
A lily.
nymphaea, which is a water lily.
Mhm.
So I always call it a water lily because it's a water lily.
And
Um,
did you mention? 'Cause someone had asked earlier on the stream about which ones can be in overwinter outside.
Depends on your
Oh, the
climate.
bulbs. Yeah. Depends on the
Yeah, it
climate,
depends
but
on your
bulbs and
climate.
rhizomes.
It depends on the plant and it depends on your climate. So, for instance, Steven can overwinter calla lilies, but I can't. And canna lilies, I can't though.
Hmm.
Things like alocasias and colocasias, I have to dig them up and put the tubers in like paper bags in my basement, or just buy them again in the new year because they're not going to overwinter. Some things will overwinter, some things won't. My water lilies, I get the hardy ones, and they're hardy even in Minnesota, like to zone 2. So, it just depends on the plant. Lotuses, those are also hardy. I overwinter those outside my pond. It just really depends. So, Crown Tail asks, what zones? Stephen P. Aquatics asked Kelly that same question. I'm zone 6A. I think, Stephen, you are zone like 8B
8B
or
or 9A is like
9A
really
on the
close.
border. Yeah, it
Mhm.
depends on the year. But I'm 6A, which is a very different zone. I mean, we get hard frosts here. So, yeah. Last year I grew a plant called Ranunculus flammula spearwort, and that bloomed all year. But it was kind of a boring plant, so I'll probably grow that again.
Most ranunculus just look like regular like marsh plants.
It depends on the ranunculus, but flammula is really boring. There's some cultivars of ranunculus that I actually want to try that have like really pretty double flowers that are like sold in the garden center. They're not sold in the
Hmm.
pond section. I might try those this year. And then turmeric. I did turmeric one year and it looked really, really cool.
And the same will
So,
be for ginger too. Both of them will look the same, like pretty much they grow the same.
yeah. So Mickham says Pogosimon erectus grows like crazy in your Opisto tank. But alas, you cannot send it to me because you are
Hmm.
not in the US.
Mhm.
But yeah, the flowers of that are really pretty. So you should put some outdoors when it warms up, and I think you
Yeah.
would really like it. It has beautiful purple flowers. So
Or
that's when
just
I,
grow it out of your tank if you can't grow it outside, because it will flower
yeah,
with like a regular T5 shop light above your tank.
yeah,
Keep
I've
it
seen
humid
people
enough.
do that too, and it looks awesome.
Hmm.
This year, I want to try that plant, and I also want to do Lobelia cardinalis. I tried to find some in the garden center, and I couldn't find it
This is a
until
common
like,
plant.
yeah, I just couldn't find it.
That's what you
I don't.
sent me, Myrtle, right?
I sent you the mini version, which will grow above water as well, but
Yeah, I don't
it
want
won't
the
flower
mini
as
one.
readily.
I want the big one because I
I
want
mean,
it to
Kelly,
have.
you live in a place where you can just walk out to a field and cut it and get it yourself because it grows natively in the U.S.
Yeah,
and
it is
especially where you
native.
are.
It is native to where I live, but I would have to like dig it up from a prairie, and I don't like to dig up plants that are, somewhat in. I mean, they're not endangered, but I don't want to like destroy a habitat.
True.
So I probably would just get one from a garden center, but they just didn't have any in the garden centers last year. I don't know why. So, and I did turmeric. That was a fun one I did, and that has cool flowers.
Hmm.
So I've always wanted to try ginger. ginger root. I think that would do well. But I don't know. I just try different things. Like if they can handle wet feet, I always every
And
year
ginger
just think,
does, yeah.
like Willet Pond, and I just find out. So
Cool.
yeah, but there's lots of plants. You have way more options if you have some sun. So my pond friend's pond, he got water lilies and lotuses to bloom, and he only has a couple hours of full sun every day. So I think you'd be okay, Stephen. It's just like I couldn't get anything to bloom because it was right under a big tree.
Yeah.
Like I was never gonna get anything. You don't want to have your ponds under a big tree anyways, because like then they just drop the leaves in them.
Yeah.
And that's annoying. Yeah. So my big ponds, I leave them up year round, but little ponds in the I take them down in the winter. So I think most people would take down little ones. So Tank says planting ginger this year, right from grocery store. I've wanted to try that because I do eat a lot of ginger root. Um, I bet it would do okay in a bog box. So here's
It
a
would, yeah.
video. That's my little tiny tub pond. You
Ooh.
see that little white flower?
Hmm.
That's one of the that variety is called Helviola. It's so tiny. And then you can see my Madoka, the
Yeah.
silver Madoka, the
And
platinum
yeah, you
Madoka.
haven't touched that. Like you haven't taken them out. They overwinter and everything. So
I dumped them into the bigger pond because those tiny tubs, they're not going to overwinter.
mm,
And then this is a pond from a couple years ago. Look how big the bog box is. It's so
wow.
nice. A lot of those things that are flowers, those are just plants that are planted around the pond. They're not in the pond. But
Yeah,
so
just potting soil there.
yeah. So Sketty notices Thai basil would grow well. Yes, that is very true. That one, I think, it prefers to have some drainage. It may not pond super well. It probably do okay. Mint does really well because mint is very invasive.
Yep. If you plant mint in a pot, it's going to be in every pot around it, and
Yeah, yeah. That mint comes back every year in my bog box, whether I wanted to or not.
yeah, once you have it, it's not going to like it'll look like it died back, but something still is alive underneath. And
So, Coral Works asked if I'm going to have this talk with Dan the Pond Man. Dan is not the Pond Man. The Pond Man is Ted
Ted
Coletti.
Coletti.
And there's someone named Peter and a woman named Sue. They are club members
Mm.
with Ted, who are also tub pond people. And I don't know if the talks at the Clash are going to be broadcast or not. My guess is they are not. So I guess you got to go to the Clash.
Yeah, I mean, I can't answer that, but
I
I would.
don't know. I mean, I don't really care, but some people do care about having their talks broadcast.
Yep, that'll be up to the event itself, and then the individual speakers that
Yeah.
are on their
I
talk.
mean, so I don't know. And it's not a talk, it's a panel chat. So,
Yeah, so you have two talks and two panel chats.
yes, my other panel
Wow.
chat is on rainbows, and that's with Bentley and Dan of Dan's Fish. And he's kind of a rainbow man. I mean, he's more of a killy guy, but he sells a lot of rainbows, so he is very knowledgeable. But yeah. So,
Well, just in time for Austin he's starting his stream right now. So
yeah, and if you have any pond plants, shoot me or questions. You can ask me on the Discord. I'll do my best. But get that book because like that'll teach you like what substrates to use. It'll teach you how to set them up. It'll tell you what plants to buy. It's got a guide for like where to buy them. It's such a good book. How to overwinter them, what zone you're in. It's just a great book, and it's like $20. It's not even that much money, and it's got great pictures. I highly recommend it. So
let's see. Oh, so let's see the link that was just posted.
from panel,
But Myrtle, you posted the wrong one.
No,
It
did
says
I?
this is an older edition, the new and
Yeah,
less
you want to get
expensive
the
third
third
edition.
edition, and he is going to have like a not a full re-update, but a partial update coming in April. So if you wanted to wait, you could. I don't think it's going to be that different, though. Honestly, I have the second edition, and the third edition is not that different. It's got a few more plants in it. So, but great book. Very comprehensive, easy to understand, approachable. Also, it talks about like fish breeding, which I am not an expert in fish breeding, as everyone knows. The only fish I've ever bred were those rice fish. I don't try to breed fish. But like if breeding fish is your jam, outdoor tubs are a great way to do it.
Mhm.
I might actually buy this book and read it.
You should do it. It's got great pictures.
Listen, it takes a lot for me to read a book.
It's got great pictures. You can
Pictures are
read it.
good.
You can read it in small chunks. Yeah, the
Yes.
pictures are beautiful because he's got hundreds
And
of tubs. I
yeah,
think he
and
sets up like 50 tubs a year or something. I mean, he's a full tub madman. I don't have the room to do that. My yard is like 15 feet by 15 feet.
well, that means you have a couple more square feet to put ponds in.
I
You just
probably
haven't
will.
yet,
There you go.
I probably will put in one more
at
this
least.
year. Well, I can only
Bye,
put in.
Myrtle.
Hi,
Fine.
Myrtle.
No.
I can
Uh,
only put in what I can set up on that weekend. It gets to the point where like we're too tired to set up anymore. It's
yeah.
like what we can do in 4 days. So, because we have to plant all the planters and, it's a lot of work for us to get all of the garden ready, but it's also a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know, it's my happiest thing are those tubs. I mean, I like my aquariums. I have them year round, but, pond season is short.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I enjoy it as much as I can.
Well,
So,
just in time, Myrtle, for us to say
bye.
farewell.
Goodbye.
Bye,
So long,
everyone.
farewell.
Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
So yep, thank you to all our awesome mods and lurkers and super chatters members and chatters and
Replay crew.
replay crew. Leave the comments if you got the questions and stuff. Um, just read Matt's message. Bye, handsome. Bye, Kelly. Bye, Steven.
It was even Kelly. It was a Kelly or
Kelly.
E Kelly.
I like an E Kelly. Wow.
All right. See y'all next time.
Bye, everyone.
All right, later
Bye.
on.